Hello and welcome back to ISpeakSpokeSpoken. My name is James and today we are going to be talking about the 100 very useful phrases to know in English. And this is a course for beginners, but if you're not a beginner, this could also help you a lot as there are some phrases in there that you probably don't know just yet. So let's have a look. So yes, in English or in most languages, having a good vocabulary of around 1,000 to 2,000 basic words is going to help you in most basic conversations and most basic situations that are going on in your day-to-day life. And we here have 100 phrases, so these will really help you to be able to communicate on a daily basis and use some of these as much as possible. Try and remember them as we go, but if you don't worry about it. You can go back through the video again, or you can just know them and then when they come up again, you'll remember them. And then the more you hear about them, the more you'll remember. We have them in different sections here, so that will help you to be able to have them in groups and you will see them in a more organized way. So let's get started. So when we are talking about greetings and basic politenesses in English, because quite often we are meeting someone new or we want to say something polite to that new person we've met or someone that we already know. So how do we do that? Let's have a look. So we would say, how are you doing today? How are you doing today? So as we go through the video, if you want to repeat after me on every phrase, it will help your pronunciation and it will also help you remember the words. So let's see. How are you doing today? Very good. So yes, this is a common way to show interest in in how someone is, because we might want to know if someone is feeling good or if someone's feeling sad. So we might say to them, how are you doing today? And then they will tell us how they are feeling or how they are doing. Lovely. Let's have a look at the next one. Nice to meet you. Very good, very good. Remember, keep on repeating once I say them. So nice to meet you. When we say nice to meet you is when we have just met someone or maybe recently met someone, and this is what we say when we want to tell them that it was a nice time that we had meeting them and it was a good thing that we met them. It was a fun time. And here it's when, or you can also say when you are first introduced to somebody as a greeting. Oh, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. And you might say this in a job interview. You might go into a job and then you meet your boss and you say, oh, hello, nice to meet you. And this is a nice way to introduce yourself and it makes a very good first impression. So yes, let's move on. I appreciate your help. If you want to repeat, I appreciate your help. Perfect. So we say I appreciate your help when someone has done something for us. They've helped us out and we want to give them we want to be polite and say thank you for that. And a nice way of saying thank you is by saying, I appreciate your help. And this is a very nice way of saying that without just saying thank you. Very good. Let's move on to the pen. Okay. So, excuse me. Excuse me. Perfect. Good job, everybody. So we use excuse me for when we are trying to get someone's attention or when we are apologizing for something. So I'll go a bit more in depth about that. So we say excuse me if we are trying to get someone's attention. Maybe we are in a shop and the person in the shop hasn't seen us yet, but we want to get their attention. So we might say, excuse me, can I please have some help? Or something like this. Also, if you are walking down the street and you bump into someone, you might say, oh, excuse me. It's an apology there. And can you hear the tone in my voice is a bit different? When you're asking the question, when you're trying to get someone's attention, excuse me, it kind of goes up here. But when you're apologizing, excuse me, the tone goes down instead. And this is our way of kind of saying it as a statement instead of asking for something. So that is the same sentence there, but a little bit different there, the same phrase. Next up, would you mind if I? So this is a nice way of asking for some kind of permission in something. So you might say, would you mind if I call someone on your phone? And it's a nice way, instead of can I, we say, would you mind if I? And this is a way of padding out the sentence and making the sentence feel a little bit lighter and less like we're telling someone to do something. We're trying to make the point that we're asking the question. And yes, we would say, would you mind if I? And this is a nice way to start a question when we're asking something. Next up, we are going to move on to the part of the video when we are expressing and asking for opinions. This is something that we do quite a lot in our daily life when people are asking about how what we think about something, when they're asking for an opinion on something that they should do. And here is how we answer those questions. So, here's how we also ask some questions too. So, what do you think about? What do you think about? So, what we're not asking about, we're not saying we're not finishing it just there and saying, what do you think about on a daily basis? We're asking them, what do you think about something? So, we might say, what do you think about the color blue? And then someone will give us the answer about what they think about that, what their opinion on that is. You see, so what do you think about that? So we're asking for someone's opinion, and that is very important because we're not just asking what someone is thinking, and that's a big difference there. Next up, we say, in my view. In my view. So that would be the answer to this. This could be a phrase to introduce your opinion. You might say, in my view, the color blue is a very good color. So you're introducing the fact that you are about to give your opinion there. You see? Fabulous. So can you repeat that one? In my view. In my view. Focus on the tone, because quite a lot of the time, the way that we say something is in the tones that we're using in our voice. So in my view, so I'm going to in my view. And that is a nice way to say that, because if you said, in my view, it kind of changes how it sounds and how it feels. So there we go. So practice those. All right. So we say, I'm on the fence about it sometimes. So if someone said, okay, do you prefer blue or green? Maybe I'd say, I'm on the fence about it. This means that you're not really leaning to either side. You are kind of in the middle. You're in the middle of the two. You don't have a strong opinion about either. You don't know where you stand there. And here it says, yeah, you are undecided. And that is the perfect word to use there. Okay, next up, we say, I couldn't agree more. You want to repeat? I couldn't agree more. Very good. I couldn't agree more is what we say when we are trying to express that we really agree with something. Like, okay, so maybe sometimes you agree with something, but you don't have a very strong opinion about that agreement. But here we are stating that we agree 100%. There's no more agreeing that we could do. You see? Fabulous. So it's a strong agreement. Next up, that's an interesting point. Very good. So that's an interesting point is a response that we say to someone if they've given us an opinion and we want to show them that we found that response interesting. We thought that what they said had some points. We don't have to agree with them, but we can say that's an interesting point to state that what they said had some, there was something interesting about it. Lovely. So if you want to get everything that you can see behind me on the board here, if you look up at the top right hand corner of the video, you will see a link that you can click. You can also get a quiz that you can do and let us know how you did down in the comments, and you can also look down in the description and find a link to that down there too. So don't worry too much if you miss it up here. So next up, we are going to be talking about agreeing and disagreeing and how you do that. Because if someone has given you their opinion, you might want to tell them whether you think that they were right or they were wrong. And by agreeing and disagreeing, we can do this. There are ways that we agree and disagree in English, which makes it seem a little bit lighter. Because if we say, no, you're wrong, or yes, you're right. I mean, yes, you're right seems a little bit nicer, but no, you're wrong can make someone feel like you are attacking them, or it can make them feel like you're being a bit rude. So we have some sentences here that you can use to show that you don't agree with something, but in a way that isn't going to offend somebody. So you can say, I see your point, but, can you repeat? Very good. So I see your point, but, and then once you've said but, you then need to give a reason why you don't think that they're correct. So you would say, someone might say, the sky is green because there are some things flying in the sky. You might say, I see your point, but I can't see anything flying in the sky right now. So yes, this is how you state to somebody that you see what they're saying, and then you state the reason why you don't agree with it. And people, most of the time, will see this as a much nicer way to tell them that you don't agree with them. And it's a way that you're giving at least an answer to the reason why you don't. Okay, so next up we have, I'm not so sure about that. Can you repeat? I'm not so sure about that. Very good. So yes, I'm not so sure about that means it's a nicer way to say I don't think that you're right. You're saying you're showing doubt. It's like I'm not sure about that. Like I don't know if you're correct. You're saying I don't think that you're correct. I don't know about that answer there. So you're showing some doubt. You're showing that you have doubt in what they've said. There we go. Next up we have we'll have to agree to disagree. This is one of my favorite ones. Can you say it? We'll have to agree to disagree. Very good, very good. And this one actually comes up more than you'd think in England, when people are speaking English. And what this one actually means is you've had your debate and neither one of you agrees with the other one. But this is what you say when you say we're going to agree that we don't agree. So we say we'll have to agree to disagree. And this is how we say that. And it's a nice way to end a conversation by saying, I don't agree with you, but let's agree on the fact that we don't agree. You see, it's a bit nicer there. So we'll have to agree to disagree. Fabulous. Next up, absolutely. Absolutely. Do you think that this is disagreeing with someone or agreeing with someone? So absolutely. It's agreeing, right? So yeah, we'd say absolutely. Can you repeat that? Yeah, so that is agreeing with someone, strongly agreeing with someone. So someone might say, oh, what do you like? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Absolutely. Yes, 100% I do. Very good. Next up. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. What this one means is that you want to respectfully tell someone that you have a different view on that. So you want to say, yeah, you're disagreeing. So so someone might say to you, oh, this is what's happening. And you might say, I beg to differ. I don't agree. I don't agree with that. And it's a much softer way of doing it than just saying I don't agree. So yes. Next, we're going to be talking about expressing needs and making suggestions and also giving advice in English. We often do this, and it's very good to be able to use these phrases. So we say, have you considered? Have you considered? And then the rest of the sentence would be what you think that someone should have considered. So, have you considered going to the shops on Tuesday instead of Wednesday because it's less busy? And maybe this is something that you'd say. So you're giving them some advice. You're giving them a suggestion of what they could do to make their situation a bit easier. So yeah, have you considered ... So can you repeat that? Have you considered? Have you considered? Very good. Lovely. So next up we have you might want to. You might want to. And this is a softer way of giving some advice. So you might say, you might want to go and get this from the shops. Like you're kind of running out. So it's a nicer way of giving someone advice. You might want to like fix your hair because it's looking a bit messy or something like this. You might say to somebody. Next up, we would say, if I were you, I'd. Very good, very good. And we do say this one quite a lot in English. We're saying that if you were the other person, this is what you would do in their position. You're stating that that is what you would do. And this is you trying to empathize with them. You're trying to help them out by giving them your perspective, your help on that. Very good. So next up, we say, it's worth checking out. It's worth checking out. One more time. Very good job. So we would say it's worth checking out if you're suggesting something that someone should give their attention to. So you might say, it's worth checking out the new ISpeakSpokeSpoken video on YouTube. And this is something that you may say to somebody because it's a good idea to go and check out that video. And also then we may have my suggestion would be to, which is a formal way to give some advice. So you may say to someone, my suggestion would be to maybe speak up more in a meeting. And in this way, you're telling someone that this is what you think that they should do and what you think would help them better their situation that they're in and maybe get that job upgrade that they've been waiting for. So yes, that is very good to use. Can you repeat that? My suggestion would be to. Very good, very good. Okay. Next up, we have some more. So I could really use. One more time. Very good. So we use this one when there's something that would help us right now and we can ask for that thing. So we can say, I could really use a pen right now because I do have a pen, but if you didn't, that's what you could really use right now. And that would help you in this situation. We quite often say to people, I could really use your help right now. That's something that is very commonly used. And this is asking for someone to help us. And you might say that to a family member, maybe someone else in your job. You might say, I could really use your help right now if maybe you're struggling to do something on your own. Lovely. Next up, I'm looking for. You can use I'm looking for in multiple situations. So, I'm looking for, maybe you're in a shop and you want to find the crisps. And maybe you will say to the person working in the shop, you might say, I'm looking for the crisps. And this is a really helpful one because if you say this, people will help you find that thing, or they'll at least tell you where that thing is, if they know, of course. And you can use this when you are looking for the train station. You're looking for a person. I'm looking for this person or someone like this, or something like this. And yes, can you repeat, I'm looking for? I'm looking for. Very good. Lovely. So I've been meaning to is next. Can you repeat that? I've been meaning to. Fabulous. Yeah. It means that there's something that you've wanted to do. So I've been meaning to get the work done for a while. And as you can see, it's in the present perfect. So what this does, it's saying that there's something leading up till now that you have wanted to do, you see. So I've been meaning to buy some crisps from the shop. You see what I mean? There's something that you've wanted to do. And it's a delayed desire or action that hasn't or has happened. Okay, I'm in the mood. I'm in the mood. There we go. So what I'm in the mood means is I feel right now like doing that thing. I'm in the mood to listen to some music because the mood I'm in right now, which is how I'm feeling, is in this place where I really could use some music and I would love to dance and listen to some music. Very good. Can you say that one? I'm in the mood for. Very good. So I can't wait to. I can't wait to. I can't wait to. This one's usually said with a lot of excitement in the voice because I can't wait to is like I'm very, very excited for that thing. I'm so excited for that. Like I can't wait to go to Disneyland. I can't wait for that future event. Like, because if you can't wait for something, if waiting is like something that you find difficult, that means that you want to be there already. And that's what that means. Lovely. Next up, we are going to be talking about making plans and appointments. This is very common when you are talking to a boss, when you are talking to, maybe you're talking to the doctors, you're talking to friends who you want to meet with, and you may want to make a plan with them or make an appointment. And you can say, are you free on? You might say this to a friend more than a doctor. You might say, are you free on Tuesday to kind of like for a meeting? Like are you free on Tuesday to like meet up and have some food? Or you might say this to a boss when you're trying to find a specific day to meet up for a meeting. Okay, so yes, it's all about the availability of the person. Next, we have let's set a date for. So this is kind of what you would say once the person has told you if they're free on that day. You would say, let's set a date for Tuesday, the 1st of September maybe, because that is the day that you can both do, and it's a good time for you both to meet. Can you repeat this? Can you repeat them both? Are you free on? Very good. And let's set a date for. Perfect. Okay, I'd like to make a reservation. Please repeat. I'd like to make a reservation. Perfect. What this is used in is mainly when you are contacting a restaurant or a cafe or something like this. Mainly a restaurant, because in a restaurant you need to book a table if it's very busy. Otherwise you won't get a place in that restaurant. And this is called a reservation. So you reserve the table. You're getting the table set just for you. It's waiting for you. So I'd like to make a reservation. I'd like to reserve a table for me or me and other people, you may say. So yes, you're booking a place or a service. Next up, shall we say? Shall we say? So this is also when you're suggesting a date or a time. You're saying, shall we say Tuesday at 10 a.m.? You're asking the person if that's what we should agree on. So shall we say is another way of saying that same thing as this one up here. Perfect. Next up is, well, unfortunately, if something comes up and you can no longer make that date and you can no longer be at that dinner, you may need to say to someone, I need to cancel. And can you repeat that one? Perfect. So I need to cancel. So to cancel something is to stop it from happening anymore. So you're stopping it. So I need to cancel. I need to cancel our dinner, I'm afraid. I'm very sorry, but I need to cancel our dinner. So I need to cancel. Can you repeat that one? Very good, very good. All right, let's move on to describing experiences and stories. Because when you're at that dinner table and you're sat there talking to people, you might want to tell them a story. You might want to explain to them some experiences that you've had in your life. And they may want to do the same thing to you and explain to you those experiences, and you will want to understand those too. So here we go. That reminds me of. So we use that reminds me of when someone has said something that has triggered a memory from our past or something that it reminds us of. So we would say, that reminds me of a video I saw the other day. Maybe someone said, oh, I visited Asia. And then maybe it says, oh, that reminded me of a video that I saw the other day when someone visited Asia. So that is how we use that reminds me of. Okay, next up, once upon a time. So people might laugh if you said once upon a time when you're sat at a dinner table, but we tend to use once upon a time at the start of kind of story books. So maybe like a fairy tale, most books don't use this, but fairy tales do. So once upon a time in a faraway land, something like this. And we have this as a very dramatic way to start a story with once upon a time. And that is how we do that. Next we have, you'll never believe what happened. This is a way to intrigue someone about a story. You're making someone want to hear the story because you've already challenged that they'll never believe it. You see, so you'll never believe what happened. So you're saying that it's crazy. It's so crazy that they won't even believe it. You see? Next up, the funny thing is. The funny thing is, and this introduces a humorous aspect into something. So maybe someone's talking about something and you might say, the funny thing is, like this, and you might come up with maybe a funny anecdote, which is a story, or something, something humorous about that situation. So the funny thing is, and then the rest of the sentence there. Can you repeat that? The funny thing is, very good. So now we have long story short. Can you repeat that one? Long story short. Very good. So yes, we use long story short when we want to tell someone a story. Maybe we're in that restaurant and we want to tell a story, but it's a very long story and we'll be there for 3-4 hours if we don't say this phrase here. Long story short, and then tell a shorter version of that story. Make sure to tell a shorter version of the story once you say this, or people might think you said long story short, but then you told us a long story. So make sure if you say this, you're going to tell a shorter story. So quite a lot we want to express our emotions and our feelings, and this is how we do it in English. So we might say, I'm thrilled about. And this is stating that you are very, very happy about something. But you can't just stop it on I'm thrilled about. You need to say I'm thrilled about and then say the rest of the sentence. So I'm thrilled about da 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 da. You could say I'm thrilled about that. So you could finish it on that. If there is something that is already obviously there in the sentence that you are thrilled about. Perfect. So can you actually repeat that one? I'm thrilled about. I'm thrilled about. Perfect. Nice one. So I'm worried about. I'm worried about. Perfect. So we use this one to express some kind of concern. So like, I'm worried about if it will rain today. If you don't go out with the raincoat, it's like, oh, I'm worried about the weather. Like, I don't know if it's going to rain. So you may use worried in this circumstance and any circumstance that you are trying to express concern. Lovely. So next we have I can't stand. You may use I can't stand if you really don't like something. You might say I can't stand this or that, and you might use this to show your strong dislike for that thing. And we are showing a strong dislike. That is what we're saying here. So if you just don't like something a bit, we wouldn't say I can't stand that. Lovely. So we have now I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to. What this means is I'm excited for something in the future. I am looking forward in time to that thing. And what it actually means is I am excited about that. I'm excited for a future thing that is going to happen. There we go. So I'm looking forward to. You might say, oh, I'm looking forward to our meeting if you're talking to a friend who you are going to meet. Lovely. That makes me happy. That makes me happy. Maybe someone says something to you that is like very nice. It's a kind thing that they said, or maybe they just said that something good happened to them. You may want to say to them, oh, that makes me very happy. That makes me happy. And you want to state that it gives you a good emotion that happened. Okay, so yes, you're expressing joy. So how do we deal with problems and difficulties in English? We say things like, I'm having trouble with. And you can use this one in you can use this in a work environment. You could say to someone, I'm having trouble with this work. Could you help me? This could be how you go into that sentence. Difficulty with a situation or something. That's what you will say. I'm having trouble with. Can you repeat that? I'm having trouble with. Perfect. Could you help me out with? Could you help me out with? Great. So we use this one when we're asking for someone's assistance. We're asking for someone to help us with something. Could you help me out with? Could you help me out with carrying these? You might ask, could you help me out with pouring these waters? You might want help with that. Could you help me out with pouring these cups of water? And then now we have, there's been a misunderstanding. There's been a misunderstanding. This is what we say when there's been confusion. So something has been misinterpreted. People haven't taken it the way that it was meant. So there's been a misunderstanding. People haven't taken it the way that you meant for it to, so it was a misunderstanding, you see. It might happen if two people start arguing about something and then they realize that they both have the same opinion. And then they might say, there's been a misunderstanding. We actually agree. There we go. So we also say, I need to sort out, and then this is when you need to resolve or sort something out. You need to resolve something. So I need to sort out this or that. And it may be sorting out, maybe you had an argument with something. I need to sort that out. I need to fix that situation, you see. So next up, it's been one of those days. So this is what you say when maybe it hasn't been the best day. And unfortunately, you haven't had the best day. And you might say to someone who says to you, how was your day? Was it good? You might say, it's been one of those days. And in this saying, those is seen as it's showing that those days are not the best. And that's pairing the not very good days into one. So it's been one of those days. Can you say those? 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 And can you say it's been one of those days? Fantastic, very good. And just remember that everything that you can see up here, you can click the link up on the top right hand corner of the video and you will get get everything that you see behind me. You will also get a quiz that you can take and let us know how you do. And if that disappears, you can get it down in the description below. So how do we express certainty and uncertainty in English? We may say to someone, I'm positive that the football team that I support will win. What positive means is sure. They have a strong certainty. They know, they're very sure that that will happen. And they would be very surprised if they didn't. So I'm positive can be replaced with I'm sure, and it means the same thing. So I'm positive that this will happen. Lovely. Next up, which is the opposite, I'm doubtful that. I'm doubtful that. And it means that you aren't very sure that something's going to happen. You don't really think that that is going to be the case. So I'm doubtful that that team will win the football match. You see? So you don't think that it will. It's not as strong as I'm positive, so it's not the complete opposite, but what it is you have less certainty, much less certainty. Next up, we have chances are. With chances are, this shows that there is likelihood that something will happen. We say chances are my parcel will arrive by tomorrow. So that is showing that there is a strong chance that that will happen. Okay, next up, it's up in the air. So this means that you don't know, it's that there is uncertainty there, that you don't 100% know if something is going to happen. It's up in the air, it's flying around, you're not too sure. So that's how we use that. Next, I can't be sure, but. So I can't be sure, but means that you think that there's a possibility that you think that that may be the case, but you can't be sure about it. So what you're speaking about is how you are speculating about how something might happen, but you don't know. So that is what it is saying. So please repeat after me because we didn't go through these ones. I'm doubtful that. Very good. Chances are. Perfect. It's up in the air. Great. And I can't be sure, but. Very good. Lovely. So we are now going to express some quantity and frequency, as this is something that we may want to do from time to time while speaking. So what we use some words that will signify a certain amount of something, you see, and it can be a range of something. So we could say a couple of. I've always seen a couple of to mean two or three. So a couple of means, yeah, two or three of something. You see, a couple of people, two people. And then you have a few, which I've always seen as three. I've always seen around three people. So couple, a few, around the same. And you can remember how a few sounds a little bit like three, a few. All right, next up, we sometimes say several. Several. Can you repeat that one? Several. Very good. So several. So several is above a couple, so above two or three, but it's not a crazy amount. You're not going to have more than 10 in around several. So you can say, oh, I have several coats at home. It means you've got around maybe 4 or 5 coats at home. Next up, we say a bunch. In a bunch, this means we have many of something. We have many. I have a bunch of coats at home. I have many coats at home. Okay, next up, we will say once in a while. Can you say that one? Once in a while. Fabulous. So once in a while means that something happens every now and then. It doesn't happen all the time, but once every now and then it happens. Once in a while. So that's how we use that. Frequency. Frequently. Frequently. Frequently means when something happens It happens frequently, it happens often, it happens quite a lot. And as we know, our frequency means the amount of something. You see, quantity and frequency, it means the amount. Okay, so how do we discuss habits and routines if we wanted to talk to someone about what we like to do? Maybe it's not our job, maybe it's just something that we enjoy doing, and that is what a habit and a routine. No, it isn't. I need to start again. I saw hobbies. There we go. Okay, I'm going to start at the top of this channel, this page again. So next we're going to be talking about habits and routines and how we talk about them. So what are habits and routines? Habits and routines are things that we do on a regular basis. So a habit, you might have a habit to every day lock every key on the door, or maybe a routine is going for a jog every day or something like this. And here is how we express habits. So let's see. So I tend to expresses what you do quite usually. So I tend to do this. I tend to do that. I tend to go to the shops on Mondays. It's something that you do on a regular basis. Okay. I make a point to. It's something that you try to, like, quite often you make sure that you do for a reason. I make a point to go and visit my grandparents. I do this and I kind of hold myself accountable to do that thing. And it says here to express a deliberate habit. Yes, because you're making a point to do that. Fabulous. So every so often. Can you repeat that one? Very good. So every so often means that you do something every now and then. It's like you're not doing it all the time, but you do it every now and then from time to time, every so often. Next up, we have as a rule of thumb. So a rule of thumb is a general principle or a habit. So it's something that you do kind of as a rule. It's something that you have as a habit that you do in that kind of situation. So as a rule of thumb, I put 2 pinches of salt in my food. And maybe this is something that they do every time because that works for them. All right. It's second nature to me. It's second nature to me. Can you repeat that one? Very good. So it's second nature to me means that you've done something so many times that it has just become so easy. It's become, you do it without even having to think about it now. It's second nature to you. All right. Let's now talk about making comparisons and contrasts between different things. So we may say, in contrast to, can you repeat that one? So we say, in contrast to this, I believe this. So a contrast is a difference. So to show the opposite side of that. So in contrast to this is the, in contrast to this is this, you see. So we're showing an opposite there. Okay, and similarity. Similarity. Can you say that one? It's a pretty funny word. Similarity. Very good. So similarity, it shows how something is connected. It's similar. It's close. It's connected. It has a likeness, you see. It's very similar there. And that is what we say. We say, oh, there's a big similarity between this computer and this computer. Even if they're different computers, they're similar. They're very close. Next up, we have unlike. Unlike shows, it's pointing out a difference in something. So unlike this has the newest application on this computer. So you're pointing out a difference there, something that is different. Next up, we say just as, and we use this to draw a comparison. So we're showing how something is similar. So it's just as blue as that. You're saying that something is the same as that. you see? And you can use any kind of describing word to say this. So you can say, it's just as big as that. It's just as tall as that. So you see what I mean? So you can use many different adjectives to make this sentence. Next up, we use in the same vein. So this one isn't the most common one, but you will find it in some conversations, and some people will say this. So it's a good one to know. So can you say it firstly? In the same vein. Very good. So what it means is that something is similar. It's going down the same path. It's like, you know how we have veins in our body? It means that these same things are going down this, it's in the same vein. It's similar. So it shows similarity. Similarity. Can you say that one again? In the same vein. Very good. Very good. Okay, so now we are going to show you how to express possibility and potential. So something that could happen, something that has the potential to do something. So how would we say this? We might say, there's a chance that. So we don't want to say that it's 100%, but we want to show that there is a chance that that may happen. So there's a chance that this team may win the football match. You see? Because there's always a chance. And this is how we state that. Can you repeat that one? There's a chance that. Very good. Okay, it's conceivable that. Perfect. And this is very similar to there's a chance that. It's conceivable that this football team may win the match. So we use these quite interchangeably. Next up, potentially. And this one is actually used to indicate potential, as it shows in the name. So potential means that it could happen. There's a possibility of it happening. So potentially. So potentially this person will win their card game. And that is how we do that. I wouldn't rule out. We say this one when there is a possibility something, and we want to say that there is a possibility of something that maybe someone doesn't think is going to happen or is the case. So someone might say, I don't think that there's any chance that they're going to win the football match. And then you might say, well, I wouldn't rule out that team. They've been playing pretty good. They've been playing very well recently. So that is how we would do it. We would use it to explain how someone might not be right when they're ruling someone out of something. Lovely. So next up we have, it's within the realm of possibility. This one's a good one. I like this one. So can you repeat it? It's within the realm of possibility. Very good. And what this one means is that something could happen. It's very possible that that thing is going to happen. It's definitely in the realm, which means it's in the same world, it's in the same place, and it's within that place of possibility. It definitely could happen. So we use all of these, and they are very helpful in these different situations. So definitely try and remember them, and then you can use them. Next up, we are going to talk about expressing likes and dislikes. Because quite often you want to tell someone, oh, I like that, I don't like that. And maybe let's go back to our restaurant and you have eaten the food. And you want to say to someone who has asked you what you think about it, whether you like or you dislike that food. So let's have a look. I'm fond of. When we say I'm fond of something, what we mean is that we like that thing. We find it makes us happy. I'm fond of that. I'm fond of ice cream. I'm fond of cookies. I'm fond of eating cookies. Something like this. So yes, you're saying that you like something. It makes you happy. Next up, I'm not a fan of. Can you repeat that one? I'm not a fan of. Okay, so you hear people say this one quite a lot in English, which is when we're saying we don't like something, we'll say, I'm not a fan of, or I'm not a big fan of. You're saying that it's not something that you're going to be like, whoa, this is amazing. And that is what being a fan is. So yes, you're not a fan of that food. You're not a fan of it. So you're expressing dislike or just something that you don't really like at all. And like something that isn't the best. Next up, I adore. So I adore sounds quite a lot like the French word j'adore, which means to love. And actually there's quite a similar meaning here, which means to have a strong liking. So I adore, I really like that. It's kind of close to love in English, but yes, we could definitely use I adore here. So can you repeat that one? I adore. I adore. Very good. Lovely. So I have a soft spot for. I have a soft spot for. Can you repeat? Great. So yes, I have a soft spot for means that there's a part of you that likes that thing. You see, like you're saying that there's a tender liking. There's something that like it just maybe you don't even know what it is about it, but it makes you happy. You like it. It's a nice thing. So I have a soft spot for that. Maybe you're watching a TV show and there's a character that you like and you're like, oh, I have a soft spot for that character. Perfect. Next up, I'm not keen on. Please repeat. I'm not keen on. Very good. So I'm not keen on means that it's not your favorite. You don't really like that thing. It's expressing a lack of interest. It's not something you're too interested in at all, and you don't really like that thing. So you're not going to be saying that you adore or you love it. You're going to be saying, I'm not keen on it. Next, we may want to tell people that we agree. We may want to ask people for things, and we may want to offer things to people. So how do we do that? Let's see. So we would say, I'd be happy to. So you are offering your service to someone. So you're saying, I'd be happy to help you with that. So yes, you're accepting a request or an offer. If someone has said, can you help me? Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Can you repeat that? I'd be happy to. Excellent. Keep repeating, and then you will get the pronunciation, and you can also remember it that way, because by actually saying it out loud, you will remember it a lot better. So remember that. Next up, that works for me. That works for me. So there was something that we said before, which was when we were asking someone if a time or date worked for them. So you could actually say, that works for me, because yeah, we can meet up on that date. That's a good date or time for me. So yeah, you're agreeing with a proposal. That works for me. Can you repeat that? Excellent, excellent. Next up, we have sure, why not? Sure, why not? And as you can see, I kind of fly over the words there. Sure, why not? And it's because it's quite a nice thing to say. Like you're saying to someone, sure, why not? It's a casual way of accepting something. So try and say it with those inflections. So sure, why not? Excellent, fabulous. Next up, we say I'm game. So when do we say I'm game? We say I'm game when we are willing to do something. So someone might say, do you want to go to the beach today? You might be like, yeah, I'm game. Because you are very happy to do that thing, and you want to do that. You are willing to do that. Next up, you may say, count me in. What count me in means is when someone has someone has decided to do something, and you are telling them that you will do it as well, and you will join them in that. So if someone maybe invites you to a party or a meeting, you might say, count me in, I'll do that. Okay, if you want to repeat, count me in. Count me in. Very good. Lovely. And maybe we want to refuse some requests and offers, but also not sound rude while doing so. So we'd say, I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid I can't. So maybe someone has asked you if you can go for a coffee that day. I'm afraid I can't. I'm a bit busy. I'm a bit busy. Sorry. Can you repeat that one? I'm afraid I can't. Very good. And remember, this is a polite refusal. This is a way of saying, no, I can't do that, without saying something that strong, as in like, no, I can't go for a meal with you, or something like this. You might say a polite, I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid I can't. As I said before, it pads out the sentence and makes it feel a lot lighter, you see? Next up, we say, I'd rather not. I'd rather not. Can you repeat it? Great. So what I'd rather not means is that it's something that you wouldn't like to do. You don't want to do that. So you're declining because of the preference that you don't want to do that. So I'd rather not. You see? Okay, I'm not really into that. What this means is you're saying to the person that it's not really your thing. It's not what you want to do. You're not into that. So that's how you use that one. I'm not really into that. Okay, that's not my cup of tea. This is a fun one in English. So when you say it's not my cup of tea, you're saying it's not something that you really like. It's not something that you enjoy. And it's quite similar to I'm not really into that. It's pretty much the same meaning, but this is a fun phrase that you can use. And people do use this. You can say, it's not my cup of tea. Can you say that one? And yes, we don't just use it when talking about tea, but we definitely could, but we use it with everything. Okay, next up, I'll pass. I'll pass. Very good. So we use I'll pass when we say that we will not do that this time. So you're declining an offer. So someone says, would you like to go out tonight? Well, I'll pass. I don't really want to do that. Next up, we may want to ask for clarification or understanding in something. We may want to ask someone to repeat themselves or explain something to us, you see? So the way that we would do that is by saying, could you clarify? Could you clarify? And to clarify means to explain, to say it in easier words. And this is something that you could say to someone if they say something to you in English that maybe you don't get. Could you clarify? Can you give me some more information about that so I can try and understand it? Okay, I'm not following. I'm not following shows that there is confusion in something. You're showing that you might want someone to repeat what they're saying because you haven't understood everything. So I'm not following. I'm not following. I can't follow what you're saying. You see? Can you say that one? I'm not following. I'm not following. And in British English, we quite often, if we are ending the word with T, we do sometimes say I'm not following, but quite often we will also say I'm not following. So we won't say the T. It's a silent T. I'm not following. Perfect. Could you elaborate on that? Could you elaborate on that means that you're asking for more detail. It's kind of very similar to could you clarify? Could you elaborate on that? Can you give more? Can you give more to that? Can you give more information which can help me understand it better? You see? What do you mean by that? So with this one, someone has said something specifically. Someone has said something specifically that you want to ask about. You want to say, what do you mean by that? If someone has said maybe, someone has made a statement that you don't really get what they mean. Maybe there are multiple reasons why they could say it. You could say, what do you mean by that? Lovely. And remember, a lot of the times when we are asking a question, we add an upwards inflection in our voice. So we'd say, what do you mean by that? So that is how we show a question in English. We go, what do you mean by that? So what do you mean by that? Lovely. And that is how we ask our questions. Perfect. So next up, I don't quite understand. Can you repeat? Perfect. So I don't quite understand means that there's something about what they've said that you don't get, and you're admitting that you don't understand that thing, and there is a lack of understanding. Fabulous. Next up, we're going to show confirming and acknowledging information. Maybe someone has said something to us that we then want to acknowledge that they have said that, and maybe show that we've understood it. Because sometimes if we just sit there, they're going to be like, did they hear what I said? Did they understand what I said? So we will say these. So we say, I got it. I got it. So if someone said something, that maybe some information or something, and we want to show them that we understood that, we might say, yeah, I got it. I got what you said. So that is how you show that you got the information. Next up, that makes sense. That makes sense. Can you say that one? Very good. So when something makes sense, it is understandable, you see. So you're saying that what they're saying is understandable. It makes sense. So you're expressing that what they have said is clear. Great. I see what you mean is next. What I see what you mean means is when we are saying that we understand where someone is coming from. We get why they said something. So I see what you mean. I see your point of view. I get that. And that is why we do that. We're comprehending what they've said. Next up, let's touch base. So we say let's touch base when we are saying we will agree to discuss something later. We're kind of setting a thing that, okay, we'll talk about this later on. And that is how we use that. Can you say it? Let's touch base. Perfect. Next up, I'll keep that in mind. And what the times that we use this is when someone has given us a suggestion or maybe some help or something, and they've said something that we should do, and we say, I'll keep that in mind for the next time I need that information. I mean, you wouldn't say the whole thing. You could just say, I'll keep that in mind, but that is what you're saying. Next time I need that, I can use it because it's in my mind. So remember, if you don't remember all of these right now, don't worry at all. It's absolutely natural, but just familiarize yourself with them. You can rewatch the video again. As I said, you can go up to the link up there and get everything that has been on the board behind me. You can go through them yourself and you can complete the quiz to see how much you know and let us know how you did. Go down into the description and get that link as well. And yeah, just keep going over it. Practice them. Practice makes perfect. And it is the most important thing that you just practice, you speak, you listen, and do a lot of reading and daily conversations, and then you will learn these things and just practice them. Use them. Once you use a word and once you use a phrase, that is when it will stick in your long-term memory. So do that. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I've been James, we've been ISpeakSpokeSpoken, and joyfully...